you'll get copied within a 6-month time frame now. The game that I got to play from 2011 to 2014 of just being the first mover from a supply chain perspective, simply being the first person to clear all the customs, and there was certain medical paperwork that needed to happen on a toothbrush and dental floss. I did all that first and I got all that in. And for 3 years, I just had this advantage of, well, I'm the only show in town, right? And I didn't really have to focus on building a brand, to be honest. My website had really not a lot of stuff on there. And it wasn't really like I'm building a brand at that point. There was no brand identity. There was nothing. I'm just the first guy to solve a supply chain problem, right? I'm the first guy to ship something. And that is, to answer your question of how does someone do a CPG or DTC brand now, unless you have some type of innovation or patent or unique supply chain on the product side, then you really, really need to build a brand. I would say either way, you need to build a brand now. So things, and you hear this all over the internet now, which is, you have to have a brand identity. You have to connect with an audience. You have to understand your target customer and speak their language and do content towards that customer and build the brand that they trust. And then you can sell them many other things, but you need to first build a brand that they trust. I didn't really do that. I first had a product which automatically went into distribution, which when you see it on the shelf, you automatically buy it because it looks cooler than the other. That was what the situation I had. Like you simply, I got a product which no one else has one that looks like that. I put it on the shelf first and it has a wow factor. This is in the age when people don't really check websites. You just saw it on the shelf. You assume it's good because the store is carrying it. Then it started selling through in the stores. Then I got into more stores. The website wasn't important for a long time for me. I wasn't needing to do a lot of things on social media or anything. That was necessitated later when other brands started coming and doing that type of thing. Then I needed to have more of a cohesive brand identity, which I developed later. And now, which is really how we run the business now, is based off trust, our supply chain. But yeah, you do need all that. You do need all that stuff. You do need a brand identity. You do need content. You do need to build trust. But I would also say that a good time spent on product development and innovation and supply chain things you can do to differentiate yourself, the dividends on that are really more powerful because all these things like, well, I like their brand versus I like their brand. And, I connect with these are very, I connect with this brand. I don't like connect with this brand so much. This is a very subjective thing. You're not really having a definitive reason why your product is superior.
Yeah.
But what I did with my product over time, so when other competitors started coming into the toothbrush market, exact same product as me, I innovated that product. I was constantly innovating that product in ways that were impossible for them to replicate to the point where now it took me many years to do it. But so for example, if you currently, why currently does, ChatGPT say brush with bamboo is the best toothbrush on the market? It's because we developed first, we found plant-based bristles from one US supplier. They were made of 62% vegetable oil, 62. And then people used to ask, what's the other 38? We were like, it's still regular plastic. We had that, but it was something to differentiate us from the rest. And we also said bristles made in USA. And, over time, we kept researching suppliers and going to all these trade shows and researching Europe, America. We found a supplier in Germany that could provide, that had innovated a bioplastic made from 100% plants. We took that bioplastic, we got it certified by the US government as 100% bio-based. So now our packaging says 100% USDA certified bio-based bristles made in the European Union. And we got FSC certified 100% bamboo. So now it's like, you're holding this thing, you care about eco-friendly. This company, once you're holding our toothbrush in your hand with its insane packaging and certifications, we have 4 or 5 different third-party certifications. You just feel like, this is what I'm looking for because I have no other reason to buy this toothbrush but saving the planet. And this brand is seriously saving the planet. And we invested so much in that supply chain that it's like impossible to replicate. You would not even care to replicate that supply chain unless you were a brand focused like us so heavily on. So what I'm saying is for young entrepreneurs that want to be successful in a product business, in e-commerce, in DTC, in CPG, obviously your brand identity is extremely important. Your content that you put out there is extremely important, but don't neglect the product itself. Even if you're not a mechanical engineer or a product designer with an industrial background, you can do things in supply chain to create product innovations, which are very, very difficult, even if they're not patentable. Maybe it cannot be patented, but you can create innovations in your product, which are very difficult for other people to duplicate. And that will give you a major step ahead from your competition, and something that when the person just holds it in their hand, you're automatically differentiated despite all the other intangible things about your brand, your content, they're connecting with you emotionally. Forget all that stuff. They can just objectively view your product as superior if you spend some time on supply chain and sourcing.